Welcome to the eCommerce Masters Podcast, the platform where we delve into the stories and strategies of e-commerce trailblazers. I'm your host, Ethan Giffin, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming another remarkable guest to our show. There's so much to say about Rob Snell. Rob is one of my favorite people in the industry and probably the world. We met 15 years ago in Las Vegas when Brett at PubCon threw us on a panel together to talk about e-commerce, and it's been stepbrothers ever since. Rob and his brother Steve have operated Gun Dog Supply for nearly 30 years, also having a comic book store along the way. In 2006, Rob authored the book Starting a Yahoo Store for Dummies, which taught an entire generation of entrepreneurs how to set up a Yahoo Store and start selling online. Yahoo Store is the original cloud platform. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ethan. Good to be here, man.
It is great to see you.
I thought I got out. 10 years. I thought I got out, and you brought me back in.
I can't even see you because of all the camouflage. I am just.
What are you talking about?
You know, I can't tell if it's a green screen or real.
No, it's real. It's real. It may fall down in the middle of this thing, so watch out. No, I want to recreate the duck blind, my favorite environment, and we need to take you duck hunting, but we'll get into that later.
Well, I am way into Duck Hunt. It was my favorite game on Nintendo.
It's just like that.
It is. Is it just like that?
Yes, it has. The ducks have the little squares. You know.
Yes.
64-bit or whatever. I don't know.
Does Steve Ethan, have a dog with big floppy ears that kind of jumps out and laughs at you?
Yes. And the ducks can shoot back. You know.
Fantastic. All right, so tell us a little bit about Gun Dog Supply and who your target market is. Do you actually have dogs that own guns?
No. So there's a lot of confusion there. We sell training supplies for hunting dogs. So the majority of our customers are dog owners, and about half of our customers are folks who use a gun with a dog, and whether that's the cops or it's duck hunters or bird hunters like my brother, or like coon dog hunters, bear, mountain lion, all kinds of dudes who are hunting with their dog. We sell the stuff that you need to train that dog, like tracking collars, training collars, leashes, anything that you would need to train your dog. We've got it at gundogsupply.com.
Great. Are you a dog owner yourself?
My family, I grew up with dogs, and my brother has 17 dogs. 17 dogs that I pay for half of. So, I mean, technically, I'm buying Dude, I don't know how I got tricked into this with my family, in the family business. My brother got the sweet end of this deal. Not only do I pay for half his stuff, but 6 months out of the year, he's in the field doing research and development, which is he's hunting with his hunting dogs, or training his hunting dogs, or recovering from hunting season. But he's working. He's testing the products that we sell, out in the field.
Absolutely. There's nothing better, actually, quite honestly, to see him actually using the products that you sell.
He does. That's our tagline. We train our dogs with the products we sell. We do. I mean, he goes through it, and if we sell it on the store, he's put it through its paces, and you don't want to know how much stuff is over there in his half of the building that has failed, or is just not quite up to snuff, or we already have something that's better. It's amazing just to see the dead products that never quite made it to gundogsupply.com.
Well, it's just so authentic, and we'll get into a little bit about the relationship between you and your brother here in a few, but it's just so authentic to see him out with the 17 dogs and kind of the big rig that he drives around.
Oh yeah, dude, he looks like a zookeeper with he's got this huge F650 or whatever it is, with the big old mud tires, and he can put I think 12 dogs in the little cages in the back, and then sometimes he'll take a trailer with him that goes on the back of that. But usually he's got a string of 3 or 4 dogs he's running at a time. And it's just as soon as it's like pitchers in baseball, as soon as, one gets tired, he subs another in. So he's got a bullpen, and these dogs are running, for their life. I mean, this is what they live to do. This is what these dogs are made to do. And so they're out in Texas, and they're running, 25, 30 miles a day, and it's fun.
I love seeing the photos, and I do want to go duck hunting with you sometime.
Oh, dude, you've got to come when we've got ducks. You don't want to come when we don't have ducks, but when we've got ducks. And half of duck hunting is sitting there looking at each other going, You know, how much did we pay for this lease? You know, where are the ducks going to come? But man, when it's this past season, dude, it was raining ducks. It was short, but it was the best season I've ever had. It was crazy. It was crazy.
That's great. Well, you and your brother have been operating the business for like, I feel like at least 30 years, but it's a much older business, right? So,
my parents, my parents started Gundog Supply on their kitchen table in 1972. My dad was working for the Mississippi state government. He was a liaison between Congress and the state guys, basically making sure that anytime the feds, had a grant or something, that the Mississippi boys would jump through the hoops to get the money. So he's like shuttling back and forth between Jackson, Mississippi, and Atlanta and DC, and he hated it. It was like had to wear a suit all the time. The politics were crazy. There's a little corruption on people trying to get stuff done. He's the most ethical man I've ever known. And it's like, there was, it's politics, dude. It's like, people are like, hey, if you can move this road a quarter mile to the left, I'll deed you some land. And he was not having that at all. And he saw the writing on the wall, the way the politics was headed in the mid 70s. And basically he was training his dogs and he couldn't find a reputable source of supply. So he and my mom kind of got together, and they were always trying to find something to be self-employed. They tried so many different things, but this was the first thing that really stuck. And so they started buying and making their own dog supplies, like collars and leads and leashes, and they were buying whistles and stuff and selling them in these tiny classified ads in specialty publications.
Wow.
And so I mean, they started, it was a micro business side hustle is what we call it today. I mean, it wasn't really anything. And then the writing was on the wall with his job, and he's like, man, I got to go full time. And so he just put everything into it. So my folks basically started making little catalogs and running more ads, and Steve and I worked in the business growing up. I don't remember a time before Gundog Supply. That tells you I'm 56. So it's they started 52 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I'm doing the math in my head. That's 52 years ago. I mean, that's, I'm going to be 50 this year. So, I mean, it's just tremendous.
It's a long time, for a business, and especially these days. But it's cool to see how the business has kind of changed over the years. I mean, we were a little bitty mail order company, and then people in Jackson, Mississippi were like, we had enough customers who kind of knew where we were, and they wanted to come see the showroom, and we didn't have a showroom. We had like 2 little bitty rooms that we were renting from some printer in some warehouse in some industrial park. But my dad built a little showroom, and so people started coming in, and then he was like, man, we can sell these folks stuff. So he started carrying premium dog food. This was back before PetSmart was around, and so there was not really a good place to get good dog food. So he hooked up with Quaker Oats and Kennel Biscuit, and so we were, my summers in Mississippi were spent unloading unair conditioned feed trucks and unair conditioned warehouses, character building for minimum wage, maybe, 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 and so he kind of built the business up that way, and just kind of became like a pet store without pets. Transitioned into this more of our customers weren't hunting dogs at one point. It grew that business up, and then PetSmart moved into town, and that's kind of where my story starts with them. In any of the presentations that I ever do, is that in 1996 PetSmart opened up across the street, and and my parents are freaking out, and they took a 50% sales hit. For most people that put you under. And so my mom was, screaming, get the catalog out. So we went back to the catalog. I spent the summer of 96 at my parents' house making this catalog. I was a graphic design student at Mississippi State and just gotten out of school. Steve and I had our own company selling funny books, which is a whole nother story. But, when you're in the family business, you're still in the family business. And so I would come home, on weekends to help them, build out this catalog. And so my dad and I, wrestled all summer of 96 trying to launch this catalog the way I would do a catalog, not the way they had done it, which was basically allocating the space in the catalog based upon the revenue that the products produced, not doing something alphabetical A to Z that's logical and methodical. It's like, what do you care about selling? If you sell one thing, that's what's that? Okay, great. So do a lot on that. And then if you sell one more thing, that gets the second page. And we basically built this catalog out, mailed it out, and it was the biggest flop of my career. We spent all this time, dude, kill me now. I'm sitting here hot shot. I've got 3 comic book stores. I know what I'm doing. I'm a marketer. My dad's just shaking his head going, what are we doing here? And, it just turns out we didn't have the mailing list that we needed. You know, we had 5,000 people on our mailing list. You need 500,000 people on your mailing list. It just didn't move the needle. I think we sold like $5,000. That number sticks out to me as like, which is not enough to sustain a business, obviously. But we had done all this work. I had all these files in Adobe PageMaker, which that doesn't even exist anymore. We had written out all these great product descriptions. We'd taken pictures of everything. We had all this material, and just nothing happened. And the whole time PetSmart's coming in on us, my mom gets obsessed with putting us on the internet. You know, she sees this commercial on these AT&T commercial about these two ladies who designed these really cool floppy sunglasses, and no retailer would carry them. And they would go to all these different stores and get turned down. Well, AT&T, gave them a platform. They built an e-commerce store. They're selling online, and now they're billionaires, and they're, jet setting around on their private jet because they made so much money selling floppy sunglasses because they wouldn't break when you sit on them. And so my mom's obsessed with that. And once she gets fixated on something, it's like it's gonna happen, dude. It's like just nonstop. And I love my mom, but to get her to shut up, I was like, okay, I'll make you a website. And this was 96, I think. So I was like, nobody's making any money online. It's all IPOs and porn. And my mom was like, well, maybe we should get into porn. So the story is, and she's kidding. You'd have to know my mom. But, so as the story goes, to keep my mom from getting into porn, I built her a website. And so I went and got like NetObjects Fusion, and I took all the photos of dogs and stuff that we had and made like a little 5-page brochure website. You've seen plenty of websites that look like that in 1996, 1997. This was like probably March or April of 97. And I've got an ego, so I'm like, I'm not going to build this thing and spend 6 weeks designing stuff. I want to get some, I want people coming to the website. I need some feedback. I want a parade, So instead of just learning about web design, I'm like internet marketing. I'm reading everything I can. There's a forum I'm on called Deadlock, which, this guy's talking all about these different things you can do to sell stuff online. So I'm trying to figure out how can I add a shopping cart to this. And, it's like, and the guy at the local place is like, well, I'm $75 an hour. I'll build you a shopping cart, a custom. And I'm like going, $75 an hour? I can't afford that. I couldn't afford $10 an hour. So I built a catalog request form on there. I wrote a great Yahoo directory description, which that's way before most people's time, but that was Google back then, and we were number one for the best-selling product that we had, which was Tritronics, because I included Tritronics in my Yahoo description. And all of a sudden we were getting hundreds of people a day requesting this catalog, wanting a paper catalog, and my dad's freaking out because it's like, we're losing $5 a catalog that we're mailing these things out. So he's like, either put the catalog online or shut the website off. I don't want any more catalogs going out. I'm tired of buying all this postage. So my brother had been poking around, my brother Steve, and he found ViaWeb, which was an online catalog builder that Paul Graham, of Y Combinator, had started in Boston. And so we got on that, and man, it was super easy. And like I said, at the time we had a comic book store. So I first built out a little comic book shop just as a proof of concept, selling some of the stuff that we sold in our store. Right. And dude, it was so easy. You upload a JPEG, you upload you write a little description, you put a caption in there, you put the price, and it generates an add to cart button. And I didn't have to do any programming. So it's like Shopify and BigCommerce and whatever else today. But back then we didn't have any of that. I mean, it was truly revolutionary. And I spent probably a month putting, their 24-page catalog online. I had all the descriptions written. We had done all this work, and we were able to leverage that content and to be the first hunting dog supplier in our industry. And there were probably 20 or 30 other retailers who had catalogs, who were much more established than we were, who we were copying in some aspects. And we were first, and man, everybody was freaking out because they didn't have stores and we had an online shop. And it didn't it wasn't like that UPS commercial in the Super Bowl where the order counter's going, brrr. It was pretty slow to start compared to, but it replaced the volume that we lost from PetSmart almost instantly. And then it was bigger than the retail store within 6 months. And this was with me doing it like on weekends and in between selling funny books. I really wanted to double down on it, but it's a family business. I didn't own it. I didn't have any equity in it. It was my mom and dad's shop. And so, I worked on it when I could, and it was always kind of like my side project. I'd be working on my comic book stores, which kind of turned into me doing e-commerce consulting, because after I did that for them, man, I was like, this is great. I got to get in on this. And it just slowly grew, and it was kind of like the tortoise and the hare story, where I'm the rabbit running around, crazy, going from one project to the next. And, Steve's riding the tortoise, slowly but surely building up our customer base. We're selling the same stuff every year. We're adding more content to the website. And, all of a sudden we look up and we're doing like $1 million or $2 million a year. And it's like, it's crazy. Because in Mississippi, I mean, I'm limited to the number of people who could drive to my store in Jackson, which, is like a 300,000 people metro area at the time, right. And then from an advertising standpoint, I remember trying to figure out when I was in college, what am I going to do? How am I going to reach an audience advertising wise? Rolling Stone magazine was the only thing I found that had significant reach, that had an affordable, it was like $100 a square inch, a column inch for ads in the classified section, so I'm, it blows my mind what we can do even 20 years ago. But today with, you got $20 in a credit card, dude, you can sell anything. There's no excuse at all for anybody not doing anything.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that's how
it's nuts.
That's how I got, like our first client at Groove was a guy that had just set up a website, kind of similar story, started selling $1 million a year by accident, just like kind of putting things online because he thought he should. And he had a kid, a college kid working summers for him that like figured out how to make it work. And so, those early stories are amazing. So,
well, I thought we missed the boat. It was 97, Amazon was what, 94. So, I mean, it was over by then, I was like going, we've missed it's already happened. Do you remember CompuServe? That may have been before your time. That was okay. So I was on CompuServe, and they had they advertised for $30,000, which might have been $300 million at the time. You can be the online bookstore for CompuServe. They had sent us a proposal, in all the different book and comic book forums that I was in and participated in. I just remember going, I'm missing the boat. This is happening. I am missing. And that was probably 92, 91, 92. Wow. So I saw this thing was coming. It's like, and I'm under no illusion that I could reproduce this today, given, if I had to start today and compete with myself and everybody else who's in there, it's, I would not do this. I would go in a totally different direction. I mean, this is it's like Deadwood. You ever watch Deadwood, the TV show?
Yes.
Where like they're building up the frontier town. Okay. It was like Deadwood back then. It was the Wild West, I mean, they're feeding the hogs, with competitors. I mean, it was crazy what was going on. And now it's like everything's corporate. They're teaching all this stuff in schools. You have to have, there are established best practices. There are things that you have to do. And then you have these huge dinosaurs out here like Amazon and Chewy who don't have to make a profit on every single order. And we're the little bitty rats down here, in the crevices getting our little crumbs. And it's like, but you can make it. I mean, you can figure out what your niche is. You can figure out who your customers are. There are people who are willing to support real American businesses. They want to buy American products. They want to deal with real people. That when they call, they don't want a phone tree or AI operators. They want to talk to Steve or one of my phone guys. They want. You were talking about authenticity earlier. It's like they want to know that the people that they're buying from have the solution to their problem, and that's our advantage as entrepreneurs and small business people. Your advantage is take your product knowledge and leverage that to the web, and don't pretend to be somebody, be who you are, and take care of folks and help them solve their problems, and they will pay you.
100%. Speaking of dinosaurs, do you want to share your emotional support dinosaur to the audience?
Oh my gosh. This is an Allosaurus made by my friend Eduardo in Mexico, and it is a full professional stop motion dinosaur. And he doesn't have to make a profit. He can spend $300 on customer acquisition while Rob's running around, and he's just eating up all the different, he sits at top, PLA, he sits on top. He's got 6 ads running that cost him $300 a customer to get customers. And so I keep him around to remind me that I have to watch out for, Jeff Bezos.
Fantastic. So your parents started the business. They've gone through some different eras. Like, at what point do you and your brother kind of take over the reins of things? Like
yeah, we had 2 things happen. My mom was probably 60, 62 when the e-commerce stuff started taking off, and she was still working in her, selling the dog food at we called it the dog store then. to take the word gun out to appeal to regular dog people. So she was still like selling dog food and had a couple of people working for her, and she was just swamped. She was too old to be processing this many orders and talking to customers and, you know, doing email and stuff. So my brother took over probably in 2001, he took over fulfillment, and so we moved it up here inside of one of our comic book stores. And dude, we had a huge store. We had 4,000 square feet, you know, on the main drag in Starkville. That was our big store, and we put the Gundog Supply in the back. And it's funny. I wish I could see, you know, a video of how quickly we pushed the comic books completely out of the building. We started off in this little closet, took over the whole side of the building, and then we put it in the back of the building. And so we had 20 feet, you know, of order processing in the back. And by the time we were done, the comic books were taking up maybe 10% of that building. And so we ended up completely moving the comics, to another location, you know, just because it just took over. And then, you know, so Steve was doing the fulfillment, and the comic book industry collapsed in the late 90s and kind of morphed into like, you know, you could buy collectible card games like Magic, you could buy role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. People were still buying some sports cards, but the comics had kind of like, you know, it didn't really die because they're still here, but it's like there are probably 2,000 or 3,000 comic book retailers, you know, at the low point in the direct market in the United States. So we saw the writing on the wall there, and then the internet was coming along.
So how did you separate what's the division of labor? Like how did you, I would imagine, is it complicated at times, like being in business with your brother?
Oh dude,
how did you
the family
separate
business
your roles?
aspect. Yeah, so we started out whereas like it was once somebody hits add to cart and place order, that becomes my brother's problem. Okay, so he was in charge of all customer service. Let me go back a step. He's actually the product knowledge expert as far as the dog training and tracking collars we sell. He actually does work for free for these huge billion-dollar companies who develop these products. They give them to him and 2 or 3 of his buddies, and they beat the crap out of these products and tell them what's wrong, and it saves them a generation or 2 in development costs. They're able to kind of leapfrog because he actually says, this won't work when you're in Texas. You know, your dog's in a low spot. This won't work. Do this. This collar's too tight. You know, that kind of stuff. So he brings that to the table as far as like he's got hunting dogs. He does mostly bird hunting, which is probably about 20% of our hunting customers. But he will go duck hunting if he has to, you know, to take me. But he is the dog guy. I mean, he trains dogs. He's not a professional trainer, but he's got 17 dogs, and he can't afford to send those all to a dog trainer. He's got to know how to train dogs, and he does, and he's really good at it. He could be a pro dog trainer if he wanted to. So he takes care of the product aspect and the customer service. You know, somebody calls and has a question and they start talking to me. It's like, I can talk to them about where your stuff is, but if they start talking about I've got this 2nd generation alpha, and it's not talking with this 3rd generation collar. And my brother knows what the update is. And him and his product guys, I mean, they have that covered. I'm more of the marketing and the tech side and the, how do we make money with this side? Used to be, I just did the production on the website and the marketing stuff, and some of the IT stuff like the order management software. But my people, you know, kind of handle that. And for 20 years, Steve ran the company, and you know, and he was basically, you know, riding this thing, and my job is to grow it. You know, and that's back when I was chasing my now wife, Melanie, for 10 years. I was on the road. You know, I lived in Mississippi part of the time, and I was chasing my .com girl, you know, for 10 years. And I loved it because, man, it was great. It was my idea of being retired. I could work as much as I wanted to or as much as I had to. Dude, I could day drink. I had my laptop at the beach in Fort Lauderdale when she was working for Chewy, you know, and I could be working on marketing campaigns or whatever. And then I'd go for a 5-mile walk on the beach, or then I'd go to the swamp and take pictures of all these cool alligators and birds and stuff. And then I got to go back. The server's down, or, you know, whatever the problem was. So for about 10 years, I was doing that. And then Melanie was working for Chewy, and she was they had fired whoever's doing their search stuff, or didn't even really have anybody doing their search engine optimization. And she was looking for something after Microsoft. So she you know, called them up, and they'd called her before, but she ended up going down there and kind of starting their search and content, you know, strategy. Mm-hmm. And so it was crazy, you know, as somebody who's in the, like I was saying, we're in the, you know, now ish, you know, we don't get too specific with our sales, but, you know, we're in that kind of ballpark compared to somebody doing $7 billion in sales. I mean, it's just like you know, there are orders of magnitude larger than us. So it was really cool seeing, you know, the pet industry from that perspective. I mean, it just blew my mind how much of everything they sell. It's crazy. But about 3 years ago now, my brother had some health problems. He had a 99% blockage in his widowmaker in his heart. You know, it should have killed him. But he's in like Olympic athlete level shape because he trains all year long to go on these, you know, on these hunting trips, run these dogs. If he hadn't done that, he'd be dead. And for 20 years, you know, he'd been saying, hey, if you think you can do it better yourself, knock yourself out. And I've always been like, nope, not me. You know, I mean, that's a trap, you know? You know, Brer Rabbit saying, come on in the briar patch. It's great in here, you know? And you know, but it was a situation, it was kind of my worst nightmare. It's like, what happens to the business if something happens to him? Because it's like, he's the product knowledge expert. He is the guy who's the operations guy. You know, this is his team. He runs this stuff. And I kind of got put in a situation where I had to come in here and run this thing, and it wasn't my team. It was a team that he built. And so that was a challenge as far as like figuring out everybody else's relationship to me, because I used to be Darth Vader coming in the building wanting to know why we were doing something some way. You know, I had a reputation for you know, your department just got robbed. You know, I'd come in and go, why is this? You know, I just find stuff that's, you know, not the way I would like it. Yeah. And I learned that's not the way to do it. And over about 18 months, you know, we transitioned from the folks that we had to the folks that we have now. And man, I got my team now, dude. These are mostly people that I hired in the first place. So it's a really killer crew that I've got. So now I'm CEO. I've got, you know, almost 50 people rolling up into me, which is crazy. You told Rob 3 years ago that he was going to be doing this, and he'd be like, you are on drugs.
If we would have had a conversation in Las Vegas in 2009 or 10, and we would have said, well, you're going to have 50 people reporting to you, Rob, it would have just been like, you know,
yes. No, I'm not. I have an art major background, dude. I had one employee, and it's like I was trying to find stuff for her to do. Drunken monkey style is how they refer to what I do. Okay. It's not a process. It's what do I feel like doing? I have ADHD. Okay. I have to construct my environment in such a way that I can operate. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can work in 4-hour chunks. No, I just know what I need to operate in, and it's not something where I have to be somewhere every day at 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock, and I have to have we don't have meetings. You know, we meet up in the hall, and man, everybody loves it. We save so much time not having meetings. If you need somebody, go grab them. You know, they're only like, I have like 5 managers and 2 other people that kind of report to me, kind of, but they really work for somebody else. And if they need me, they come get me or they text me. You know, it's real. It's not super informal, but it's not corporate. You know, Melanie had a hard time wrapping her head around the way. She's like, CEOs don't do this. I'm like, well, this CEO does. We just basically had to refigure our relationship, because it was, you know, yin yang. You do the left side, I do the right side. You stay on your side of the fence, I stay on my side of the fence. And with Melanie coming in, you know, I couldn't afford to pay, you know, Melanie Mitchell, now Melanie Snell, my wife. I could not afford to pay her Chewy money or Microsoft money or AOL money. This girl's used to having $1 billion marketing budget. Okay, $1 billion marketing budget. She used to being wined and dined by these, you know, all these tool companies, and you know, she flies all over the world and eats 5-star cuisine, and here she is in Starkville, Mississippi, you know, hanging out with me. I think she's nearsighted. I don't know how I did that, but dude, thumbs up. No, it's like there's no way I could afford to pay her. You definitely
married up, my friend. You definitely married up.
Yeah, so I had to absolutely, and so I had to marry her to get her in the company, and it worked. I trapped her, tricked her. She's mine now, and now she's my CMO. And so, you know, working with your spouse is challenging. Almost as challenging as working with your brother. So I'm in this, you know, you got to be, you know, it's nimble. It's challenging at times. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of communication, some of which you might not want to hear, you know, but a lot of communication. And so she was taking over some of my marketing stuff. And it was the first time I'd ever had anybody who was actually putting money in the bucket, not taking money out of the bucket. So that for me was like a revelation. I mean, I've had agencies before, but they're basically doing what I, you know, tell them to do with my ads, which are like, they're parroting what I say on the website. They're not really they're not going out and finding new customers that I wasn't getting before. They may be better at it, you know, more efficient than I was. But this is the first time she's like writing ads for customers. She's like, we need to be going after some of these non-pet customers non-hunting customers, these pet customers, because they're 200 times as many as them as there are hunting dogs. And she's like, we got to get that gun out of here. We got to come up with something, you know. I call it dead raccoon. It's like just, tone down the dead raccoon on the website. It's like this doesn't, the pet parents don't dig this, this side of the business. We have a lot of people who apologize. They say, I don't hunt, but I love your collars and I love the things that you sell. I'm sorry, I don't hunt, but I'm going to buy these collars anyway because they're so good.
And I'm surprised you haven't spun some of that stuff off anyway in terms of in terms of products. So speaking of that,
and some of it,
what's your favorite product that you've ever created?
The big dog collar. This is we sell regular dog collars too, not just tracking collars and training collars. And so my parents started out making these, and this is where, 12-year-old Rob would be freaking out if you told me, hey, you're getting back in the dog collar making business, because it's not, most people are getting these things made in China. We make these in America, dude, with Americans. So it's American, this is an American material. Now the hardware is probably Chinese because you can't get, but we started selling these collars, and one of the things that I wanted to get across in this interview was that you need to maximize the opportunities that come to you. As a shrew living in the time of the dinosaurs, you don't get a ton of opportunities. And when you do, you need to be all in. You need to triple down on these things, and you'll know it when it comes. And if it's a fastball coming down the middle, you just lean into that sucker and you swing. And that has saved us probably 5 or 6 times over the past 20 years when so many things are changing. Google's taking more of your money. People can spend, competitors can spend $300 to get a customer when you can spend 30. I mean, it's crazy. So one of the things that we decided to do was starting to make some of the stuff that we sell. All right, you're a middleman. Yeah. 20 years ago, you could add value by being the best middleman there was, but those days are gone. These manufacturers can sell direct just as well or just as easily as you can nowadays. And there's no barrier to entry, for new guys coming in. And after this podcast, there'll probably be another Gundog Supply ripoff. Like every time I speak at PubCon, there'd be 3 or 4 Gundog Supply clones that would pop up, and they used to just like chat me. But I was like, that's the highest compliment, and it's hard, dude. It's like there'd be better looking sites than ours. They'd be better designed, or it'd be somebody who's a super dog expert, and their site would look like a joke, and like we can kind of sit in the middle where we've got, okay, our site's not the best looking site in the world, but dude, it converts. It converts. I have a wrinkly old $100 bill. You got a brand new, freshly minted $1 bill. Which one do you want, Ethan? Give me Ben Franklin.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it all spends the same. It all spends the same.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's we're kind of dipping into some things. Let's talk about the site a little bit, right?
All right. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I got my emotional support dinosaur here in case you say something mean about my web design.
Your brother has guns and knows where I live, so
absolutely.
We don't need that either. But let's talk about like the simplisticness of what you're doing, right? There's no doubt that a lot of brands and e-tailers have evolved. You guys are still on Yahoo, I think.
Yep. 25 years.
The last 1,000 stores on Yahoo Shopping.
Yep.
So
For
talk
sure.
a little bit about the simplicity. There's a lot of things that are so authentic and genuine with what you have. I am curious, like, for you to kind of talk a little bit about like that. But I'm also curious of, for somebody that's creative and other things that you've kind of you've definitely boxed that in terms of the technology that you utilize.
The reason, I'll be completely honest with you, in 2000, back when I was chasing .com girls, in 2004, I went to play on Monster Commerce volleyball team. I had an affiliate site that I still have today that sells baseball bats. We cloned his store. I put it on a Monster Commerce site. My Yahoo store did 4-to-1 with the same traffic, conversion-wise, revenue-wise. And I was like, there's something to this Yahoo store. They're doing some stuff right that web hosts don't understand. Man, I hate to get into specifics because I've got 1 or 2 competitors who are really good, and I don't want to give them.
No, we don't have to get into specifics about it, but let's talk a little bit about what your tech stack is.
Yeah. I use Yahoo Store, which is now bought by Turbify. It's almost like 5th owner now, but it is an ancient. It's RTML is the templating language. It basically it uses a templating language to generate HTML pages. So anything that you want to do in HTML, you can do. I'm not reliant upon the platform itself for anything other than being this thing that generates HTML and that has, and that has a shopping cart. I can customize the shopping cart. There's so much stuff in there that I can do that I can't do in the back end of like a BigCommerce store or Shopify where they lock everything down, which I completely understand why they do that. But there's just things that I can do that increase my conversion rate to the point where I don't think I can afford to go somewhere else. I don't want to be the frog in the pot, where they're like, all right, soup's on. Here's Rob. He's been cooking for 25 years. Dude, we're pretty nimble. If you told me that I had to be off this platform and up and running on BigCommerce or Shopify on Monday, I could be up over the weekend. I'm not, under any illusion that my sales will be the same. But dude, we move quick, and I got like 4 or 5 people who are like super ninjas. So we can, if I got to go, if it's time to go, we can go. But I've just gotten the conversion rate that is so high. Both desktop and, man, if you told me I was getting 5, 6, 7% conversion rate on desktop 10 years ago, I'd be like, I'm rich. I got a plane. I wouldn't realize that nobody's on desktop anymore. And mobile, it's like, 3, 4% conversion rate on a mobile site. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it, Ethan? I mean, I don't see the numbers because I'm not consulting with hundreds of people anymore, but I think 3% on mobile is something that a lot of people would be happy to get, and we have, thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day on our website. I don't want to say how many, but you can, people can figure it out with spot food or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I think about it. I think, and you need to do what works for you, right? Like, so
absolutely. If you're a high end brand,
continuing let's just we're going to go back a walk down memory lane a little bit here. So you're using a Yahoo Stores for for your cart. You've got MailChimp for your email marketing. You're using StoneEdge for your order management system. So I assume you have a server in the office, like running.
A big old hoss. Yeah.
And we haven't come across that in quite some time. Admittedly, but you're using what works for you, right? And that's that's the most important part of all of that. I do kind of on the other side of that, and again, I mean, I sell sites for a living, but I do think there are components within your site that are so authentic and genuine that they would definitely translate. They're more content, right? So it's Steve's picks. Like you're kind of like all of you do more content creation and more authenticness with your products than almost anyone else that I see at your level.
I appreciate
store
that.
Size.
Yeah.
And I think that
that's the only thing we got, dude. Yeah, I mean, my dad died in 2003, and that's when my mom took us on as partners, which I didn't get to that. And 6 months into that, before I went to Monster Commerce, our sales flipped. There's this chasm that when you go from $2 million to $3 million in sales, you need a $5 million infrastructure to be able to process all those orders accurately and do all this kind of stuff. And I see all my consulting clients go through it. I see my friends go through it. It is a nightmare jumping that chasm, and a lot of people don't make it. You either shrink your business, or you go out of business because you make so many people mad because you screw their orders up. And that's where we were. We were upside down. We had about 18 months where it was like, we don't know if we're going to make it because we're self-financed. So that was when we said, what is the only thing? We don't control anything other than the world's supply of Rob and Steve Snell. That's all we control. We're selling other people's stuff. We don't control the advertising side of it. We don't control what our competitors are doing. What do we have that we can leverage? And it was Steve's knowledge. And it was my ability to I'm the space shuttle delivery system. He's the payload. I can get him into orbit, and that is the secret to our success. And I tell everybody, find your Steve, find somebody, find the person, the champion for what you sell. And it may not be the owner, it may not be you. It's not me for sure. Steve kicks the bucket. I got to go find somebody who's an expert on this stuff.
Hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But that's all we had. And so I've had a hard time finding other platforms that have the ability to customize. I can write an RTML template literally right now while we're talking, text it to my IT guy who can he could code it super fast. I still code a little bit. But I was like, I need a list of all the things on our site that don't have pictures that are bigger than this dimension. Boop, 30 seconds later, he's got me a list. It's just all kinds of stuff that you can do. I need everything that where Steve's picks is a yes, and it does not have a Steve says on it. Boop. Here's a list of stuff, for my AI to write. No, I'm just kidding. We don't use AI. It's an ancient platform. It's like you said, there are probably less than 1,000 people using the platform now. It got bought by a big company, and they plan to do some stuff with it, and they're slowly but surely, rolling some stuff out. But we're at that. At some point, if it shrinks much more, it's not viable. It doesn't have enough resources to support it. We'll have to move, and I'll have to figure out a way to do Steve's picks on BigCommerce or Shopify. And it's like, it was very difficult for me to find an easy way to do that other than these, tons and tons of uploads. I couldn't add like a yes, no switch on the product level where I could go Steve's pick, yes, and it puts a flag on there that appears on the product level and on the category level,
Well, some of that's more accessible now, right? Some of that's more accessible now with things called meta fields, and you can kind of create a lot of customizations around that are all dynamically driven out of the catalog. You can upload those you can upload into those fields as you're kind of making edits now. So there's always nuance with every platform. But
absolutely,
I do have a curiosity of like your authenticness if you paired it with some more modern technology, things like like a Klaviyo or something that like allows you to kind of trigger and automate more of what you're doing, right?
Well, we're actually talking to Klaviyo right now. When MailChimp, jacked their rates up because Intuit bought them, and now they're like, inflationizing everything. Oh no, we have a 30% increase, in the cost. I'm like going, okay, I can afford to switch to Klaviyo, but we had migrated so many things at that point. Platforms is like, that's the last thing that I'm going to do to my IT guy to save $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever. I was like, let's suck it up. And I hate it because I told everybody, 13, 14 months ago, get off of MailChimp, and here I am still using it.
We've got a great ebook, MailChimp versus Klaviyo. I'll send you a copy.
There you go.
So
that would be awesome.
So you can,
in exchange for your email address, Ethan will be happy to give you.
It's very popular, by the way. It's very popular.
I hope it has a lot of pictures.
So all right. So thinking about technology, like I don't want to harp on that, but I am curious, like where do you go next? And I think that you should, as you like, if I'm looking at Built With and seeing that my technology, there was once 250,000, I think, people running my technology, and now there's 1,076.
It was like 60 to 60,000, I think, was the peak of Yahoo stores.
Maybe that was the peak.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's like then Shopify came. They should have been Shopify, but they missed the boat. It does concern you, but it's like the thing is, I know the engineers who are working on this. I have their phone numbers. I text them. I actually have more access than I ever did before, even when I was, the guy who wrote the book on Yahoo Store. You know what I mean? If I have a question, and they're like, quit posting about this. It's in the next build, or go read the email I sent you last week with the store notes, Rob. We fixed this thing that you've been bitching about for whatever. I mean, I have 3 or 4 engineers who are friends who are on the thing. I got a customer service rep who's fantastic. I know the people who are in the trenches. You're
probably one of their biggest customers at this point.
Probably. I'm the oldest for sure. I don't think I'm the biggest, but I'm definitely the guy who's been on the platform the longest. Like I said, I can do stuff with it. Right now, I have a Shopify store that I'm paying rent on and a BigCommerce store that I'm paying rent on that are still stuck in development. Oh no, I became the CEO. I don't have the mental bandwidth to do anything other than like ride this thing. And I've been doing this for like 2.5 years now. So I'm like, okay, I got time to do a podcast phase of my CEO career, And so they see me doing this and they're like, where's my standalone big dog collar store? That's what they're saying yesterday. You got time to talk to Ethan. You got time to make us a store. So we are putting our little toe in some new things. Peepaw is exploring. Peepaw's got Snapchat,
I've got so many more questions. For you. All right. So, you met, about 10 years ago. So, right, like I think we met just after the book had come out for a few years.
Yep.
So I think it was 2008 in Vegas, probably, that you and I met. At Wynn, they had this great little lounge. I think it was called Blush or Bliss or something. That was like an ultra lounge in there that was great. We would all hang in there and have a great time. And so it was just after that. You were very popular. You were starting to do a lot of keynotes, very dynamic and authentic in your presentations of telling your story and what you thought was important. And then you just kind of pulled back at one point and stopped even attending shows. You know, and I'm just kind of curious of, you know, what created that shift, you know, and you know, I know that I kind of asked you from a friendship standpoint to take your time today to spend with me, but like, what created you to shift and pull back and make that change where you didn't want to present or talk about what you were doing anymore?
Yeah, there were some competition issues as far as like I could see people who were copying what I was doing, and that would kind of, you know, my dad would never talk about any of this stuff. Some of the things I've told you in this podcast, he's rolling over in his grave right now, but some of it's like you can figure out what we're doing by the size of the company. You know, I got 50 employees. You can kind of do some math and go, okay, they got to be this big. Some of it was that, but I mean, to be completely honest, it was, you know, I got Melanie. I got what I was looking for. You know, I was looking for a .com girl. I'm in Starkville, Mississippi. You know, the dating pool's kind of thin. You know, if you're 40 years old, there are a whole bunch of 20-year-olds, but that ain't nothing good coming from that, Ethan. Nothing. No, but I was
Nothing.
like, you know, and I would just meet really interesting people at these events, and it was great. The networking, I recommend that anybody who's interested in speaking professionally, you know, within their industry, do that just for the contacts that you make. I mean, I got Matt Cutt's phone number, dude. You know, how much was that worth in 2008? You know, he invited me out to Google and gave me the tour, and it was great. You know, we're not like best friends, but you just get access to people, because I could help him with some stuff, you know, in my little way, and he could help me with some stuff when we had whole platform issues with SEO stuff. I would just meet people that would be doing keynotes, and like in the green room, you know, getting to hang out with you. I'm talking shop with you. You're telling me stuff that you probably wouldn't tell Rob Snell, you know, convention goer who just comes up to you and goes, Mr. what's the best mobile conversion rate you've ever seen? You know, I mean, the other thing is that there was a lot of, hey, give me some free consulting. And I'm sure you get that, you know, people who don't want to pay for your time. And that kind of like would rub me the wrong way, because I would help some people, but then it's like, you know, no good deed goes unpunished, and you kind of get sucked into some pro bono things that are weird. Yeah. But the reality was I started dating Melanie, and I was like, this is great. This is what I was, you know, I was looking for someone, you know, financially and intellectually in a weight class that was more similar to where I was and what I was wanting to do. And that's where, you know, I mean, she was the corporate version. I was a small business version of almost the same kind of person, you know? Right. And I got her. She's mine. I married her. She ain't going nowhere. But now we're talking about retiring together.
I would say that many people were surprised that both of us got married.
Yeah. You know, dude, you did great. You were so proud of you, dude. I caught the tail end of your wild side. I was like, you know, we gotta settle Ethan down. Ethan's not gonna make it.
One of the infamous, Rob and I were presenting in Vegas, and I'll share just a funny story of like, you know, we were presenting the morning session at PubCon the next morning, and I think it was like a 9 or 10 a.m. session, and we're looking down at our watches, and it's like 4 or 4:30 in the morning, and we're like kind of overserved is the best way to probably describe it, and we were like, we're just gonna get the Wynn bathrobes, and it was Rob and I doing a co-session, and we were like, what will they say, the powers that be say at PubCon, if you and I show up to our session in the Wynn bathrobes? And you know, we actually had for as hungover as we were, I think we were like still on fumes, and I remember that we actually had so much fun with the audience that day.
We did.
People were in tears and just had a great, very open conversation about all kinds of stuff. And you know, but
it was the best rated show we've ever done, Ethan. Yes, we did. Yeah, we should have done the bathroom. They wouldn't fit though, dude. You got your barrel chest, you know. I was like, oh, I can't make this fit. I'm gonna have to get an extender on my bathrobe.
Well, you know, I had to. You know, I was 50 pounds heavier then, so I would have to sew 2 bathrobes together.
There you go. Yeah, me too. Me too.
To make it work. You guys, I also know that you expanded your facilities pretty significantly.
Oh, dude,
in the last bunch of years. So
yeah, this is one of those opportunities. They wanted $400,000 for us to expand. We bought a building in Starkville in the industrial park, and it was 2 buildings. One was like 11,000 square feet and one was 4,000 square feet. And they wanted $400,000 for us to put bathrooms and offices in the second building. It wasn't really, filled out. Between all the stuff that you have to do because you're in the city limits, all the code stuff you got to meet, the ones you put in fire extinguishers, and not, most of that's pretty good. But then when you build a retaining pond and just all this, the stuff that, dude, we're in Mississippi. There are not a ton of laws, but sometimes these municipalities get these ideas. So my brother's like, $400,000, it's like, we can do it, but it's just like, it just doesn't seem like what we want to do. And for 30 years, we've been driving past the building we're in now, which is about 19 miles away from Starkville. And I remember going, man, maybe one day, maybe I'll have a building like this. Oh, there you go. There you go. And dude, there was a sign out front that said, make offer. And they had, it was like, it looked like a nightmare on the inside. It had been vacant for 20 years. Right after they built it, NAFTA passed. And so Vanity Fair, it was a plant that made men's jeans and military uniforms. And they made it their showroom. Hey, this is Mississippi. This is not a sweatshop. This is actually, they built it out. And 2 years later, NAFTA passed and they're like, we can pay people what, an hour? All right, sorry, Mississippi, bloop. And they just locked the doors and, sent everybody to Mexico, and they lost all these jobs around here. And they had 300, 400 people working in this plant, if it tells you how big it was, 72,000 square feet. So it was 4 or 5 times the size of what we had. But it was you would have to gut it and like do a ton of work on it. And long story short, I paid less for that building than I paid to do than what it would have cost for me to pimp out that other building with that 400 plus another thing we were going to do. So it was like less than $500,000, dude. I got a 72,000 square foot building, and we put like $1.5 million into it. And it's pretty good, and it gave us room to expand into manufacturing. And that's but it's great, man. It's like the town, there's 600 people who live here. They thought we were bringing 400 jobs in, and we were like, no. I don't want any more employees. I want fewer employees, I'm not trying to get up to 400, but the mayor was mowing our grass. Like when it froze down here during one of the ice storms, they brought a front loader down here, and they were scraping the parking lot so we could get in. We had the water main, break. It was our fault on our side of the line. They had the city people down here with pipe wrenches. It's great in a small town. The cops look out for you, and we've hired, a bunch of people from around here, It's just being in a small town. They appreciate the jobs, dude. It's, and they appreciate not having an eyesore on their highway. It's the biggest building in town, and it looks nice now. It doesn't look like, Haunted Hill or whatever the movie would be,
That's
but
cool.
Dude, copper thieves came in. One of my little nephews used to party out here. All the high school kids would break in. My little nephew had keys on his key ring to the front door and to the office because he's an urban explorer, and he knew where everything was. We came in, the realtor showing us the building, and the realtor's like, all these high school kids, blah, blah, blah. And I see Sam written right behind him, where my nephew had written his name on the roof. It was great.
Oh,
but yeah, you just, when opportunities come by like that, you need to take advantage of them. We bought some companies, and I say that, and it's like, that sounds highfalutin. We didn't. We paid $50,000 for somebody's equipment and their patterns and their overstock inventory, and Peepaw's tired of making, dog beds, or somebody, a sofa manufacturer closed their plant here, and they used to make dog beds, with the scraps. We didn't buy a company. We bought the rights to make the dog beds, but and now we have a sewing room. We have 10 sewing machines. We got, people making dog beds. We just need to take advantage of these opportunities and need to keep looking. You need to be the guy making what you sell. It's like, you don't need to be selling other people's stuff, so you have some control over this. I had a competitor who was selling these things that you go to LL Bean and buy one of these dog training dummies, which I can't reach over and grab one, but they're boat bumpers. They're things to keep your boat off the dock. Okay.
Right.
Retrievers use them to train their dog to go get a duck and bring it back. And people need a lot of them. LL Bean will sell you one of these things for $10. We sell them for $5 because, they need them, and I use it kind of as a draw to get people in. I had a competitor selling them for $2.99. And I'm like, how in the heck is this guy getting these? He can't be making any money. But he made me mad, and so I did some digging into it, and I actually found the place on Alibaba where he was buying his dummies. And it turns out that I have a guy who has a relationship with this factory. So a couple of phone calls later, we're in the dummy business. I have a container of these coming over, every 6 months. And now I'm selling $3 dummies and making more than my margin.
Right.
And so that's been my job, is like, there's still meat on the bone. Everywhere in your business, there's meat on the bone. There's meat on the bone in payroll. You have people who are working for you who may not be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they may need to go seek other opportunities. You know, you have overtime that you're paying in the slow time of the year. You need to, you have manufacturers and vendors who are not competitive. You know, my new warehouse manager, she got me a 50%. She's saving me on my boxes. She cut my boxes in half just by going to another vendor saying, I need better pricing on these. We were spending $30,000 a year on those air bubbles, you know, that you see people ship stuff with. She and my manufacturing manager got together and they bought, for $5,000, they bought a cardboard shredder that shreds up the cardboard that the vendor's boxes coming to me, that I was paying $600 a month to get carted off, because we can't get recycling here in the boonies. They grind that up and it's nice little packing material. So I'm saving $30,000 on air bubbles and for $5,000, and I'm saving $600 a month for a second dumpster pickup. Wow. You know, it's like there's meat on the bone. You can find that stuff in there. There's margin in there. You can call your manufacturers up and go, hey, I need a better price on this. What do I need to do to make, you know, to buy more stuff and to get a better discount? What closeouts do you have? You know, learn from my clients. I just, like, every single client I went to would have one or two things that they did way better than us. And I would just kind of cherry pick all those little bitty things and kind of stick it onto my stack of stuff that we do. And finding closeouts and deals is one of those things. Buying people's end of the year inventory, you know. The building was one of those. One thing that I haven't talked about is figuring out people to partner with on a content thing. And if I got a little bit more time, can I talk about that?
We've got lots more time.
And y'all can edit this down, or you can make it, you can do whatever you need to do. So one of the things that we have a lot of access to is that 1% of our customers are professional dog trainers. They need this stuff. They want it fast. They know we sell it at good prices. They know we ship reliably. And so we have a ton of folks who shop with us who are professional dog trainers. And over the years, you get to know some of these folks, and some of these folks have had some programs that are like, ooh, that's pretty cool. And so we've got 5 or 6 dog trainers that we've partnered with in different ways. The first one we did, we had somebody, and she was selling like $100 a year worth of these DVDs on training, on how to train with e-collar, shock collar. And we basically ended up working out a deal with her to where we would replace that income by allowing us to give her stuff away, when you bought a training collar from us. So when you buy a training collar from us, you actually get a $40 value. Here's a sales pitch. You get a $40 value free streaming or DVD of how to use your e-collar. And so that was how we could add value, because you can buy the same e-collars on Amazon for the same price because they're all MAP priced. But I can throw in this training material that the manufacturers probably should, provide, but it costs money, so they don't, So I spend $1,000 a year on paying for that, subsidizing that, but she's still making money off of it, doesn't have to sell anything, and I have something that I can use as a value add for my customers. All of these dog trainers that we partner with, they either make a product or they have a video series. We had one guy who couldn't keep his books in print back when we had Copy Cow, our copy shop that we started.
We didn't touch on Copy Cow yet, but
so the comic book business was imploding, and right before we did the internet stuff, I had my hands full with opening up a copy shop. The Kinko's in our town closed when Kinko's went private equity or whatever they did, and they got bought out by whoever they got bought out by. But they basically closed the bottom 20% of stores, and it just so happened that our store was the Southeast Star for 20 years, and they moved it across the street to something like 5 times as big and was open 24 hours, kind of like one of these metropolitan Kinko's, and it just totally flopped, and they made the numbers look bad, so they closed that store. So I had $500, so I got me a crappy little copier and set up a copy shop, and also we're doing $500,000 a year in photocopying. And that was, but then, month 3, it's the same exact thing every single day. Hey, we need some more paper. Hey, we need some more toner. I'm like, I think I can offload this to somebody else and work on, selling some stuff online. And that's where I kind of took off after the internet. But so we printed dudes' books at Copy Cow and kept them in print, and that's just an advantage. Somebody comes up and there's a problem. Dude can't keep, he's got 10 books and we're always out of the second and third book in the series of training. You have to have 2 and 3 to get book 4. I have a huge inventory of 5 through 10. Never going to sell them because I can't sell book 2 and 3. Let me just print them for you, dude. And it's great. We pay him a huge royalty, triple what I was getting for my Dummies book, which, by the way, is still available on Amazon. It's
5 stars. 5
Yes.
stars.
No,
5 stars.
no.
So
Written
all right.
25
So
years ago.
you're manufacturing all of this stuff now, which is fantastic, and
Yeah,
I
dude,
highly
we
recommend that.
we had sales of stuff that we own, make, distribute, control. We just hit that, which is for us is huge. The margins are you got to make 2 profits on it. You're making the profit to sell at retail. So I pretend I'm a separate supplier, but my sewing room has payroll, so I got to make a profit there too. So it's like you're getting the money twice when you sell something.
So, like, are you just selling direct to consumer through your site, or are you doing
Yes.
any wholesale with other
Yeah,
people
we don't wholesale.
for these items? You know,
I want to be the only place you can get this stuff. Yeah, we have some stuff. There's some dealers that came along with some deals that we've done. Like we import some blank pistols, and my brother has still has some wholesale customers for that. That's a weird kind of specialty product. Like track teams use them. We have some track supply places I think we still sell to, but for the most part, most of the people that I would sell to are zero-sum game competitors. So if they sell it, I'm not selling it. Whether that's Amazon or Chewy or some of the smaller folks like us, in the hunting dog space.
So like I am surprised some of the things like the collars and the dog beds you haven't spun off and at least created maybe another brand name that's more Instagram friendly, like kind of more.
We will. That's next on the list as far as once I kind of got this new role for me. It took me 3 years, but I got my sea legs now. I think I have plenty of time to do that. These days, and Melanie's really excited about it too. Because it's hard to sell gun dog supply dog collars to a certain percentage of the population because of the first word in our name. Thanks, Dad. 1972.
Thanks. Yep. So, what do you think? What's the biggest mistake so far that you've made at Gun Dog Supply that's created real personal growth for you?
I'd say the main thing was not making our own stuff. Was becoming it was the top line is more important than the bottom line, because the bottom line was my brother's problem. I was like, I got to grow the top line. That's the only number I'm looking at, selling other people's stuff, not realizing that if you're not, it's what you keep, it's not what you gross. And my dad said that for 30 years, but it's like it's what you get to what you take home. So it doesn't matter how much revenue you do. I mean, like we had one of the best years we ever had, and it's like it was one of the least profitable years we ever had, because the things to make the sales you were spending more money than you should have, because it was like, oh, this is crazy. So I would say making sure that that the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. My Uncle Paul used to tell me that all the time, and it is. The main thing is that we make a living out of this. This is not a hobby. This is not for fun. Why are we doing this? And I had to lose vendors. I had to anything that's big and bulky, that's expensive to ship now, I'm not selling it. Shipping goes up, up, up. There's still meat on that bone that you can get, but shipping costs are not going to go down. Shipping costs until everybody's got free energy, and then who cares about anything? Shipping costs are going to keep going up. So you need to be selling stuff that's lighter and that ships in a bag, doesn't ship in a box. And so people are like, you have to sell this. You're a Gun Dog Supply. You have to sell this type of product. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't sell dogs. I don't sell dog food. I don't sell dog training. I don't sell bullets. I don't sell shotgun shells. I don't sell guns. I don't have to sell whelping mats or whatever, whatever's big and bulky, or surrogate or quail huts or whatever. I don't have to, if I'm not making my margin on it, And so that was I just kind of had to come to terms with, I am not my top number. I'm really not my bottom number either, but that's the number.
Well, kind of wrapping things up, I like to ask everybody, do you have one tip for somebody listening to this podcast? One tip for somebody that's looking to scale their e-commerce business. What's the one thing that you would say to them? Based
I would say find your Steve. It's like, I know you are not doing enough, because I'm not doing enough. I know you are not doing enough to leverage your product knowledge and authority to demonstrate to your customers that you are the guy or gal. You are the person to buy this from. Take a very, very, very hard look at what you sell, compare yourself to your competitors, and go, hey, if I took off all of the logos on all these websites, could I tell the difference between Amazon's product page, Cabela's product page, my product page, and 2 or 3 of my competitors' product pages? Or if I put it in Japanese, if you run stuff through a Japanese filter, sometimes that's really interesting. Just you can kind of see stuff take a look at your website and go, am I presenting myself as the authority that I am? And if you're not, you need to, then leverage that content.
Fantastic. And so true. I mean, I've always admired the amount of product knowledge and authenticity that you and Steve kind of bring to the show in terms of putting it out there for the public on your.
It's a bunch of work, dude. You don't want to know how much time we spend making some of these videos. We spent 4 weeks filming a 6-hour video on these GPS tracking collars, going over every single feature. But it shows up. It shows up as I have competitors now doing the same thing, so I can tell that it is it makes a difference. Because if they don't do that, people are asking, well, why are you not doing, why do you not have this and Gundog Supply does have this? Do the work.
Awesome. Do the work. And in closing, where can listeners find you online? Do you have any kind of public presence?
No.
Anymore?
You can't see me. I'm not here. You can friend me on Facebook. I still have some Facebook
How about
friends
LinkedIn?
left.
Are you active on LinkedIn at all?
No, I'm linked out, baby. I'm not looking for a job. Oh, by the way, if I am looking for a job, don't hire me. I am unemployable. You do not want me working for you. We may have to delete this video if things don't work out, Ethan. But no.
Oh man, I am so appreciative that you would take the time to spend. I have like a whole other page of questions, but we'll have to like that.
Well, invite me back.
Goes well, I'll invite you back again.
Invite me back.
Really
I enjoy doing
your
this.
time.
Oh man, we love Ethan Giffin here at the Snell House, dude. So
and I miss you. I wish I could give you a big hug. It's been a long time since
back
we've
at
seen
you.
each other.
Yeah, you need to go duck hunting, man. You would love duck camp. I could give me 3 days. I'll fly you into Arkansas. No, I'll fly you into Memphis. It's probably a direct flight from Baltimore to Memphis. I'll fly you in. You go duck hunting 2 days, and then I'll put you on a flight. And you might be a little stinky flying home, but dude, you will eat the best food you've ever eaten. You'll see the most beautiful scenery you've ever seen, and we'll bring you home with a mess of ducks, dude.
I'm in. I'll take them on the Southwest. I'll carry the ducks on a stick.
Absolutely. Oh, that would be awesome.
On a stick. All right, Rob. Thank you so much again, and thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Mr. Giffin.